Greetings, everybody. Well, I'll start over. Greetings, everybody. Tim, the Bible Thumping Wingnut, with a rogue episode of the Bible Thumping Wingnut podcast. My better half, Len Pettis, is here.
Yeah, buddy.
Let's start some rumors there. So Len and I are here for the purpose of reviewing Dr. James White's
everybody. Well,
interaction
greetings, everybody.
with
Tim, the Bible Thumping Wingnut.
There we go.
Get that volume under control.
Yeah. Actually, I closed the whole thing. So anyway, Dr. James White was on Dr. Drew's show today. About an hour ago, they aired it. They recorded it yesterday. And Len and I just figured we would show the video and give our thoughts as we watch it. Granted, it's a hack job. My wife and I tried to get our computers to stream the show. Couldn't do that, but so the quality is going to be poor, but you'll be able to hear it.
Well, the important thing is you'll be able to hear it. You'll be able to see it. It'll be in a bit of a lower resolution because you've committed your microphone and your camera to giving the best possible, putting the best possible light on the show and making that as audible and viewable as possible. So I think
the most important thing is they'll be able to see and hear you.
Right. Yeah, that is important.
So bear with us. The quality is poor. My dog may interrupt us. It's late, but we wanted to do this and go ahead, Len. Finish whatever you were going to say before I interrupted you. I'll switch.
Well, here's what I'll say to kind of intro everything, and while you're kind of finishing up the technical aspect of things here. So this all started because Dr. James White appeared on the Dr. Drew show about a week ago, and he appeared via Skype responding to Bruce Jenner's transition to Caitlyn Jenner, and basically mutilating his body to become a woman or to try to become a woman. So they wanted, they being the Dr. Drew show, the producers reached out to Dr. White because they wanted a quote unquote spiritual point of view on this. I don't know if they knew they were getting a reformed Christian apologist, pastor, preacher, and someone who is quite legit. So, but what really sparked this second appearance is because the Dr. Drew show did an after show critiquing James White, and they were really unfair. And Dr. White on the Dividing Line responded. He committed a whole show responding to this 3-minute video and did a really good job. And the producers of the show listened to the Dividing Line and Dr. White's critiques, and they asked him to come back. And so he did. And so what we're going to watch now is like the part 2, where Dr. White actually appears live on the broadcast. And well, not live, but he's in studio. They recorded it, which is strange because most of the time they're live. And what's nice, neither Tim nor myself have seen this yet. I know Tim recorded it, but Dr. White today did a mini Dividing Line, and he kind of talked about his appearance. That Tim and I both heard, so we kind of have an idea of what the setup is and how everything is going to be. And so what we just want to do is watch this video with you guys, with our with those of you who agree with us and disagree with us, and kind of give you an idea of what our thoughts are. We're not here to critique Dr. James White. And
yes, we are. Yes.
I don't think Dr. White is, he's certainly not above critique, but he is probably from us. And I think that what we want to do is listen to this, learn from it, because this is an issue that gets right to the heart of the gospel. And this is an issue that we as Christians need to learn to respond to. And Dr. White is somebody who has been writing and writing about and debating against homosexuals, the homosexual movement and everything. And he and Michael Brown have worked together in addressing this issue.
Ramble. Come on.
What?
You're rambling. We're gonna be here all night.
All right, man. I don't know when you're ready. You didn't give me any idea that you're ready to go. I'm just setting this up.
I'm ready.
All right, you're ready to go.
We're ready to go.
Tim, roll that footage.
And yeah, I did already watch it, but
you did.
Yeah, I did. Wait till you see. You're not gonna believe what happens.
Oh, spoiler alert.
No
spoilers. Okay. So are you gonna press the play button?
I did.
Tonight, new pictures of Caitlyn Jenner after her transition, and why some people
look at him. There he is.
There he is. That's all we bring to the conversation.
That's
right
it.
there.
There he is. There he is.
doing and are not afraid to say so. And a man who says he made a huge mistake by having had sexual reassignment surgery. It all starts right now with the top of the feed. A pastor in Arizona tells his congregation at Faithful Word Baptist Church he hopes Caitlyn Jenner, quote, dies and goes to hell. Take a look.
You know, this week, this filthy sodomite picture is everywhere, and people are showing this transvestite or transgender or whatever this guy is. Bruce Jenner has basically mutilated his body, apparently. And I mean, this filthy pervert is just like on all these magazine covers and just everywhere. Literally hundreds of millions of people are being subjected to looking at a trans freak. I have no love for this Bruce freak.
Yeah, amen.
I hope he dies today. I hope he dies and goes to hell. He's disgusting. He's filthy. He's reprobate. But yet today, people think
that's actually the first time I heard that. I didn't hear that.
Wow.
Before.
Okay, well, we know about this Pastor Steven Anderson. This is not Christianity. This is a man who desperately needs to get downwind from himself and read. He needs to study, as I've said so many times, Titus chapter 3, verses 1 through 7. Despicable. Wow. That's
no love, because a person's sin is worse than his.
Right.
That's downright shameful.
It is. And not only that, but think of how that's contrary to scripture.
Yeah.
You know, think of our call to love the world, our call to be as Christ. Can you imagine Christ having that attitude with the woman on the well or the woman caught in adultery? I hope it is anti-Christ.
Okay,
that's right. Carry on.
Yeah, I keep interrupting you and saying, "Hey, yeah, let's get going here." But this is what a lot of people on YouTube think of all Christians. They think this of you. They think this.
Right.
That's
right.
Not. All right, here we go.
Well, you're right. I'm crazy because I think that every man should keep his privy member in place. I'm nuts. You say, well, you know, what do I pray for? Pray for your needs and pray for Bruce Jenner to die and go to hell. Amen. There's something to pray for. So you got 5 nice things to pray for. Let's bow and have a word of prayer.
What an idiot.
Joining us to discuss, Vanessa Barnett from HitHollywood.com, Emily Roberts, psychotherapist, author of Express Yourself, A Teen Girl's Guide to Speaking Up and Being Who You Are, and Michael Catherwood, my Loveline and KBC Radio co-host. All right, Emily, you seem to have a strong reaction to that guy. What do you think?
It's shocking that he's talking to so many people about this and using the words die. I mean, this is so dangerous to be teaching people.
So it could be ultimately inciting hate violence?
Absolutely, but let's be clear. He got like 1 amen and a half of a snap. Like nobody was really feeling his message. And it's unfortunate because as a Christian, like when people speak like that, it looks bad on the entire community. But we are supposed to be promoting love for everyone. Even if we don't agree with certain choices, it's about love. God is love.
Hey, Tim, can you pause it right there?
Yep.
I think it's important to, so here's a woman professing to be a Christian. And if you listen to Dr. White's, critique of their after show party, And they were saying, hey, Christians are supposed to be loving. Well, to define love as to love somebody, to love the sin that Christ died for, that's not love. So I'm very curious as to what she means when she says love, because I think that in principle we agree with her. That's certainly not Christ-like love. That Pastor Steven Anderson, that's no form of love whatsoever. But what does she mean? What kind of love does she think that Christ expressed? Does she have the stained glass picture of Jesus in her head, like holding children and gathering sheep and things like that? Or is it the love that was displayed on the cross, where he died for the very sin that we were all born into, and the kind of sin that Bruce Jenner is expressing? That's what Christ died for, and that's the expression of his love and his wrath, by the way. So carry on.
Choices, it's about love. God is love.
No. So using the Bible to harm someone is misuse of the Bible, right?
But we're all sinners. You're not supposed to take the Bible and beat everybody.
I don't know about you, Vanessa, but
she's actually she says a lot of good things.
She does.
The worst thing that I saw is actually the way she's dressed, but here we go.
Beat everyone with it, and you're not supposed to condemn someone to hell. Like, who the hell do you think you are?
And this is not the first time this pastor has been in the headlines for saying some wild stuff. In 2014, you said, quote, if you execute the homos like God recommends, you wouldn't have all the AIDS running rampant.
Hey.
Oh, wow.
He's a theonomist. What do you know?
What do you know? Yeah.
Pray that he, parentheses, Obama, dies and goes to hell. Mike,
isn't that against the law?
It's not saying he's going to kill the president. He just wishes the president would die.
Well, honestly, in that last sermon, the one about Caitlyn Jenner, he kept saying it, and our kids, look around you, our children have to be exposed to this. I mean this sincerely. I would much rather my child is exposed to transgender than that kind of language, wishing death upon someone. It's really, I mean, that's a grotesque abuse of human interaction.
But that's what I keep hearing from Christian sort of establishment, is that it's a worldview that's being
He keeps hearing that. He's only hearing that from JamesWhite.
That's right. The Christian establishment is awkwardly and conspicuously silent on this issue.
Yeah.
The Christian establishment, American evangelicalism, is painting themselves into a corner with their silence on this issue. Now, we shouldn't be vocal the way that Steven Anderson is being vocal. We need to bring the gospel to bear on this issue, right? Yep. So, but to say that, the establishment, the Christianity or whatever, like they're talking about a worldview issue. No, Reformed Christianity is talking about a worldview issue. Evangelical establishment Christianity is conspicuously silent on this issue.
Yeah. Or approving. Okay, let's go.
Yes.
By people like Caitlyn Jenner. But then this guy's espousing violence and hatred. Isn't that a
and I don't think anyone in the community would agree with him either. I think what happens is that we do have a certain code that we live by. We do live by the Bible. We do believe what the Bible says, but also you can't believe one half of the Bible without believing the other. And God loved everyone. Everyone is God's child. So when you speak that way and want someone to die because of their choices, you can say, I don't agree with those choices. I would never recommend those choices. I don't understand those choices. But when you say you want someone to die and go to hell, that is not of God.
According to the church's website, that pastor, quote, holds no college degree, but has well over 140 chapters of the Bible memorized word for word.
Well, so what? I mean, I memorized Scarface word for word.
Okay, hold on here. Can we pause it just a second here?
Yep.
His lack of education is not the problem here. In fact, anyone who knows Steven Anderson knows that he is a wicked smart dude. He is no dummy, and he doesn't need a degree on the wall to demonstrate that. I mean, listen, if you saw his interaction with Dr. White, actually, when they were talking about, the the King James only thing in Dr. White's office. I mean, the man speaks several languages, I believe. German. He speaks German. He's misguided in a lot of ways, but he is no dummy.
Right.
So I think this is just a huge distraction from the actual issue.
Well,
but
this guy here is a distraction to same conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Talking about drug dealing, it's like in the audience I have Aurora Persichetti. Sorry, Aurora, transgender YouTuber, and I'm wondering, and your brother also a transgender. How do you guys react to this?
Well, it's hard.
This is a brother and sister, I think twins, who I only know this because James White told us, right?
Right.
Brother and sister, I don't know if they're twins or not, but they both switched genders.
Right. The boy transitioned to try to be a girl, and the woman transitioned to try to be a man. Yeah. Awkward. Weird.
Yeah.
But, this is just, this is Romans 1 America that we live in. And
to be clear,
we need to,
for the YouTube non-believers, Len says awkward and weird, but that's not the bottom line. That's not
it isn't
the point. Right?
Well, right, exactly. And look, we need to learn how to respond to this. There's a part of me that just kind of finds this whole thing like bizarre, right? It's just what we're watching is just so far beyond the pale. It's, how do we respond? Well, the first thing we have to do is put on our gospel glasses here, and again, stay downwind from ourselves and recognize that it's only by God's grace that I'm not a transgender. And in a lot of ways, I'm probably significantly worse if we, stack our sins side by side with them. Outside of Christ, we're no different. We're no better. So how do we now address this? How do you address this, evangelist or church lay person, if you come across this brother and sister? And how do you bring the gospel to bear on this? That's why we're doing this. We want to learn, how do we address this issue?
Yep.
Where to even start? I don't even know.
Well, for me, I was just talking to my mom actually about it this morning. I personally have gone through calling myself all of those things and having that reaction towards the community.
Meaning wanting to harm yourself?
Well, just thinking I'm messed up. I shouldn't love myself. I'm, everything that everyone is saying, bad things about the transgender community, I've said it to myself many times and had to find a way to kind of break through that in order to love myself. So it's kind of weird that I can find it so understandable that people would have that reaction, because I've been there, and I was able to get past it because loving myself is the only thing I can do.
Or can you relate to that?
Yeah. Well, that video was like absolutely ridiculous. I don't even know why that needs to be like discussed, first of all, because that was like really.
Well, I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why. I keep hearing transgender communities feels attacked, feels under, being judged, and your brother just said the same thing, that he was taking it on himself. I mean, not only were other people attacking him, he was attacking himself. I want to understand that. I don't experience that in my life, but where is that coming? Why do you feel that way? And then I hear something like that, and it starts to make sense to me. But that's not the average experience out in the world.
Well, I still, even though I say I'm happy with myself, I look in the mirror, I'm like, you're beautiful. Or I hear people say you're so confident. And I'm like here on TV. I still have such a hard time loving myself. And I think that's the case for everybody.
Right.
And everybody's finding it.
I also think it's important to expose and let this type of hatred be seen, because a lot of times, the word transphobic or homophobic or racist gets thrown around. And, in my opinion, a lot of times it's misguided, and you need to show this kind of stuff to expose what real hatred is, what real narrow-minded thinking is, and to see like what that truly exists. And that's not
okay. Can we pause it? Can we pause it there, Tim? Because I think that one of the motives behind exposing Steven Anderson and showing this to the world is so that the world can say, see, that is Christianity. And that is why Christianity should be rejected. They want to take take the extreme and make that the norm.
But that's not going to happen on this show.
Well, not now. No.
Not on this particular show. As people will see, it's going to take a pleasant turn. Just for everybody watching and for you, Len, I want to be done by the top of the hour.
Okay, let's go.
Nouns, that's not getting your language confused. That's hatred.
The problem is, in a leadership role, and when someone's already feeling uncomfortable with the skin they're in, right? When a leader comes up there and says something so damaging and so hateful, it can really impact other people. Just like what you were saying earlier, it can reinforce something that you're struggling with. And that's so dangerous to somebody who's feeling really...
Pastor Anderson didn't hear back. I bet you he didn't see their request, because I think he would jump at that.
Oh yeah, he doesn't fear going on the media at all. I mean, you've seen him enough on YouTube, on news shows and everything. So I think the lack of response isn't like him not wanting to appear. In fact, I think he would love to appear next to JamesWhite to juxtapose his position, because he thinks JamesWhite is a complete heretic.
Mm.
Who they are in the moment.
Joining me from the audience, I have JamesWhite. He's director of Alpha and Omega Ministries. And James, you don't agree with that guy, but you also don't agree with Caitlyn Jenner's public coming out.
Well, that's true. It's unfortunate that Steven Anderson's even getting the press time that he's getting, because that's why he does what he does. Believe me, he's preached more sermons against me personally than everybody else combined. So unfortunately, in Phoenix, we know a lot about this fellow. But unfortunately, that also distracts from the real discussion, and that is when we're talking about what happened in regards to the Jenner situation, are we talking about something that is good for him and his family and his grandchildren, or is there something that could have been better? Unfortunately, that distracts from it.
That's like a home run. I mean, they just, for the first 8 minutes of this show, they built up Steven Anderson, and then here's another Christian, and he totally deflected it, totally pushed it aside with lots of wisdom and insight, and distanced himself from Steven Anderson.
Right, exactly. Well, he points out, you know, if you think he hates Bruce Jenner, you should hear what he says about me. I mean, it's just the character.
Right.
The fruit of Steven Anderson is rotten.
Yeah, it's sad.
A grandfather like he is. And I cannot imagine changing the relationship that I have with my wife, with my children, with my grandchildren in doing what he did. I wish he could have found someone who could have encouraged him to see that there was a purpose in the way that, from a Christian worldview, a believing Christian worldview, not the Steven Anderson worldview.
A believing Christian worldview, not that. Right. That was great response, and it's true, because Steven Anderson is not a Christian. There is nothing Christian in his message whatsoever.
For a purpose, and that he could find that purpose if he would but pursue it and get the help to do so from the believing community.
And let me switch over to you guys who've been before and after transition. What if somebody had approached you like that, either of you? Would that have made a difference? Would it reinforce your negative feelings about yourself? How would that have been received?
I think, like with anything, it just comes down to you finding your way. No one...
You hear my dog scratching on the carpet?
Put that dog to bed, bro.
Dude, it was in the truck for 14 hours today. I worked 14 hours. It sat in the truck. It got out of the truck one time. It's a very good dog, but now it wants to attack the carpet in the man cave. So, sorry, folks.
The way people have told you is the best way, but until you come to it yourself, you're not going to go through it the same way. And for me, I've tried I've tried to be really feminine and do this. I've tried to do the other way. I've, gone about a lot of ways that I thought was right or people told me to. And until everything clicked for me in the path that I have now, have I felt confident enough to take it. So I don't know what the case is for other people, but I know for myself, I had to come to it on my own.
Well, and the way that we're created, trans people, I was born with a female brain.
You do a CAT scan of us. We were born with brain of a man, brain of a woman.
But what's your DNA say?
Right. Exactly. What does? Well, James White said he said that woman will never have PMS.
Well, that's coming up.
Yeah. Okay.
And the other thing is about this is there's a lot of straight men who are married to women who, if their brain was scanned, whatever he is saying, his brain is the brain of a woman. There's a lot of straight guys probably with the same exact brain scan. So,
yeah.
But the DNA tells you.
That's right.
We're not changing something. We're just making things right and externally becoming who we are inside.
Next up, Caitlyn Jenner is being honored at the ESPYs with the Arthur Ashe Courage Award, and others are being thought of as perhaps more deserving. We'll get into that after this.
Go to the Bible Thumping Wingnut podcast for commentary on that.
That's right. Episode
something.
Right.
We're going to fast forward. No need to watch commercials.
You didn't edit out commercials? How lazy of you.
Yeah, this reeks of hack job right here.
Yeah, but it's all good. Yeah, the Arthur Ashe. Oh, here you go. You're going too fast.
At Hilton.com.
Slow your roll.
You're talking about somebody that had the best plastic surgery, the best makeup, the best photographer, the best clothes, and the best Photoshop artist.
This is saving lives, considering how many transgender people commit suicide.
Ugh. Hey, but listen to this lady. Good on Dr. Drew. Listen to this, Len.
Okay.
God made man and woman. He made men and woman for a reason, and Bruce Jenner is destroying what God created.
We are talking about Caitlyn Jenner and how some people have reacted since her transition became public. I'm back with Vanessa, Emily, and Mike. James White, who opposes Caitlyn's transition in our audience. And James, you became upset last time you were on the show with us, and you responded on YouTube to us. We're going to take a look at that. I've not seen it yet.
Why is it? I wish, he's hiding the fact you have a podcast, you have a regular show. It's just not like Yahoo who made a one-time YouTube video.
Yeah, exactly. This isn't a Rand Campbell video. Okay, this isn't G-Man. This is, Dr. James White here. 150 moderated debates in academia, and yeah.
You got your
little YouTube video here.
Like twice a week, he's on for about an hour.
For the last 15 years or something.
Well, yeah, and on YouTube for the last 6 months.
About a year, yeah.
And 200 live viewers. Almost 200 every time.
Yep.
That thing on. I mean, not a lot of people could say that. So anyway, he's just not making some hack make it like the Bible Thumping Wingnut.
Right.
Bruce Jenner is not a woman. My wife is a woman. Bruce Jenner will never be what my wife has been her entire life. And I am offended that anyone would compare him to her. It's not just homosexuals or people who mutilate their bodies and pretend to be a gender they're not or whatever else it is. It's all of us. Every single one of us. Abide under the wrath of God. That's what Jesus said. You simply have to say, I don't like Jesus.
James, why does God care?
Why does God care? Because in his...
No, but I mean, if these people are happy and not hurting anybody and maybe living a productive life,
God cares about every one of us. He made us for his glory, and he gave us direction in Jesus Christ as to how we're to live. So he cares so much that he actually came into his own creation as in the person of Jesus.
But why does he care about transgenders? Not why does he care about humans?
Because in Jesus' teaching, the gift of maleness and femaleness is just that. It's a good gift from God.
So quick. Such great answer. that
Yeah.
he's such a blessing to Christian apologetics.
Yeah.
Cause of Christ.
And in 30 seconds, you just gave the gospel.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
The ask and femaleness is just that. It's a good gift from God. And it's central to the aspect of how we are to relate to one another, how we are to have children, the foundation we give to society.
And so people that are ambiguous genitalia or XXY or XYY genetically, those are not God's
people. You brought that up last time, and yet no one that we're talking about is that.
No, but I wonder why does God not care about those people?
We live in a fallen world, and there are obviously situations, very small number, and we are to stand with those people. But that's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about actually.
You see, I was impressed by that.
Yes.
We are to stand with those people. In other words, he answered it, but he didn't go into depth. He didn't get sidetracked at all.
He didn't. Dr. Drew is throwing a red herring.
Right.
That's a classic fallacy to just try to, distract from the issue at hand. And Dr. White just ninja, pow, just knocked it out of there.
And we are to stand with those people. But that's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about actually saying that we as individuals can, in our minds, determine what reality is going to be, even when that is against the reality that we see around us. We see it in the news right now with the transracial stuff. It's the same thing. Does man have the right to make that kind of change?
Well, do you have the right to tell people that they're not deserving of God?
The question would be, does God have the right to?
But I'm asking you.
Well, I'm not taking the place of God, man.
Okay.
I'm simply saying, if God has spoken with clarity, then we need to listen to what he has said.
Again, he's so quick. He's so quick. And like he said today on his show, that, he wonders if 140 debates is what God used to prepare him for times like these.
Yes.
And this could be the beginning of him showing up on lots of shows.
Oh, absolutely. And we talked about this before, how Dr. John MacArthur was on Larry King Live all the time. Whenever there was something of spiritual discussion, he was usually on a panel with like a Catholic or a Hindu or something. And James White is of that caliber, where he is perfectly capable of defending the Christian worldview, probably as good as anybody. And again, what is the value of debates? You always hear Christians, I don't debate. I don't think Christians should debate Christians. This is why debate is valuable. Okay. And this also, consider this. This is a very presuppositional approach that Dr. White is taking here. He's cutting through all the junk, cutting right through the garbage and getting right down to the foundations. And that's where we always need to start.
Clarkian. He's using Clarkian.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, I'm sure Dr. White's a Clarkian.
If God has spoken with clarity, then we need to listen to what he has said.
Okay.
You're shifting that over to me.
But my question is, what do you do with somebody who is suffering inside? What do you do with someone like that comes to you and says, you know what, I don't feel good about myself right now. I don't feel safe with myself. What do you do?
Introduce them to what the scriptures say they have been called to be, and you then tell them the Spirit of God will assist a person who desires to do God's will to accomplish.
Wait. Hey, that's what the Duggars told their son, right? By the way,
but also I'm curious if
yeah, this is
that's what the Duggars told their son. By the way,
come on. There's this woman right here is waiting to speak.
Which woman?
I've got my cursor over her. She's standing in between James White and the brother and sister.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's gonna be pretty good. Yeah, you get a whole bunch of just red herrings and trash talk. It's gonna happen right now.
If Christ could exist as the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit, why couldn't a child of God exist as a man or a woman?
You don't seem to understand Christian teaching, because we don't believe that Christ is the Father, Son, Holy Spirit. He's only the Son. He's not the Father nor the Spirit.
But Christ can exist in the form to which you find him to be most effective. Am I correct? I mean, with some people's view,
from Jesus'
paintings I've seen of.
Look at James White is like, the guy just made a statement. And then James White is like, well, that's not Christian teaching. You don't know it. And he's like, yeah, I know I don't. But then he goes and makes another statement. And this is James White's response. Look at that face.
Oh, that's a meme right there. If someone can present that so someone could take a screenshot of that and make a meme, that would be classic.
All right.
Mark that timestamp.
No, I'm going to let me do it right here. Wait a minute.
Are you taking that? You're going to do it right now. So we're going to pause the show while Tim makes a meme of Dr. White's face. That is a memeable still, though.
It's not working for some reason.
Here, let me get my snipping tool. Oh my goodness. I got to do everything on this show.
How can I forget the shortcut for it? There it is. Okay. All right. See, here we go. We're doing it right here. I got to send it to you. Oh, you need space around it though, right?
Oh, you do?
How much space do you need around it?
Oh, not too much.
As much as possible, right?
Yeah. I've got it, dude. Right, let me hear. I got to name it Dr. White meme face. All right. Let's continue.
That's like
that's why this needed us right here. This oh, ridiculous.
Oh man, here we go.
Very greatly. I mean, there's a tremendous variety in images.
I want to get some of the transgender youth in here. I've got Jade Posh, who's a transgender YouTuber as well. Jade, you heard this conversation. What do you think?
I just feel kind of bad. I couldn't imagine living my life with so much hate in my heart. I'm very spiritual. I'm religious. Ever since the beginning, I know God made me this way, and I still love God. Nothing's changed.
So Jade, I want to interrupt you. So from your standpoint, Aurora will ask you the same question. So from your standpoint, God made you and you are, and you're now living more consistently with how God made you as you see it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hold on, Aurora, is that correct?
I absolutely believe
Sasha, is that correct?
Oh, yeah. And I was going to actually comment on what he was saying about how before I came to this, I was not nearly as loving, or I couldn't be as good of a person to anyone around me that I wanted to be.
Did you try?
I tried, yeah. I thought I was. And then as soon as I really...
No, but did you try any spiritual or religious
path? Yeah, of course. Like, I tried a lot of things and finally was able to, come at peace with myself and then love everyone.
I got to tell you, James, as a clinician, that's my problem, is I'm into what helps people. That's my job, not to live by any doctrine other than what is, good for people, human beings living in this world. And
that's doctrine.
We're suggesting, just like with the Duggars, if that worked, great, good for them. It doesn't work. We know that as clinicians. That's why doctors are participating in this.
But Dr. Drew, it was fascinating that you were the one in the last program we did constantly bringing up the number of suicides that take place after this, which is an issue that has to be brought up. And secondly, when we talk about loving from the Christian perspective, the first person we're to love is God. And then we're to allow that reflection to identify who we are and how we are to be loving in his sight.
I don't think it's fair to say that this man has hate in his heart because he has a certain belief that you all don't agree with. That's not fair.
I agree. Well, help us, Vanessa, help us understand.
How he feels.
Help us understand.
Because I don't have to agree with everything that you do. Caitlyn Jenner might not like some of the things I do, but that doesn't mean I have hate in my heart because I don't think that you should go around changing the body that God gave you. If God made you that way with certain body parts, who's to say that you're now supposed to go cut those off if God gave you the brain that you say he has and I don't live in a certain life? That's not hateful.
This is good. I mean, the flavor of this, it's totally like James White said today. He thought he was going to get railroaded, but this woman speaking from a Christian perspective, and now I'm shocked by what the comedian says here.
Okay.
And to be fair, I agree with you, Vanessa. To lump Mr. White in with people who are being hateful, I think is unfair. I mean, he doesn't necessarily agree with the transgender community, but also I think I don't hear you espousing any hate.
Jade, I really don't. Jade, you have a comment you want to make?
Oh, I just wanted to clarify real quick. I didn't mean that he had hate in his heart. I meant other people like that.
Okay, another question from the audience. Go ahead.
I just wanted to say it's more of a comment rather than a question, but I agree totally with you.
With Vanessa.
As a Christian community, my personal belief is that we are created in the image of God, and that God has a purpose for creating us, whether man or woman. My heart breaks for transgenders and the struggle that I hear them describe. I'm filled with compassion and love for them, and I can only say.
Why don't you tell the couple they're here? I mean,
yes.
see if they believe you. If they
Yes,
if you help them.
I honestly do. Like I'm brought to tears at your struggle, and I only wish that there were people around you that could pray for you and help you feel better. Because all I could say is that even in our own skin, those of us, we struggle too, and there are times where we're insecure in our own skin too, and there are times where we feel like the task before us is too great, and we doubt ourselves, and we wish we were more confident.
Let's let Aurora respond. Go ahead, Aurora. You seem moved by that.
Yes, we do struggle. There are definitely things day to day that get me very depressed and very upset. But this is really, for lots of us, it's a really happy time.
Yeah, like the best year of my life.
Exactly. We're realizing like who we really are, and we're becoming who we've always been. And so there is a struggle, though. I think it comes more from other people.
Right. And James, ultimately you said it's a worldview, that the worldview that you adhere to is deteriorating or changing or being adulterated or something.
It's the worldview that gave rise to our society and our laws. That's why we're having so much difficulty and so many struggles, is because that worldview is what gave the foundation for our understanding of marriage.
Doesn't the majority of this world that we call Earth have the worldview that Allah is God? I mean,
wait.
The majority of Earth are Muslim.
No.
Wrong.
James is like, no.
No, right. Yeah. It's top three,
and even if they were,
well, right. Something isn't correct because it's the majority view. If 50
is pointing out that the United States was founded on Christian principles, and he's like, well, isn't the majority of the world Muslim? Oh, so that's the dumbest argument that we've heard all night, because okay, then we should go along with the Muslim doctrines?
Right, yeah. What would a Muslim do with transgenders?
Well, we know.
Wait, honestly, this is so psychologically.
I'm pretty sure. I mean,
this is so psychologically damaging to think that somebody who is struggling on the inside can't go to their church and be accepted. I mean, that's gotta really suck. I'm so disappointed with the fact that I see all these suicides. Right? We see all of this happening. Where are they supposed to go? Therapy? Yeah, but you're supposed to trust your church and you're supposed to trust your religion.
She wished that, that they had people who could pray for them and make them feel happier. But if being transgender is what makes them happier, then isn't that enough right there? Like, why can't they just be accepting of that? Like, I don't understand, if somebody lives as a transgender person and it doesn't affect you negatively, like your personal life negatively, then why does it matter? Why can't people just live their lives and be happy? And if I don't agree with you personally, why can't I be entitled to my own opinion? I love them with the love of the Lord. I'm not hateful. I want them to be happy. And if this is how they want to live, I am not saying that they shouldn't live their truth. What I'm saying is,
whoops, she failed there.
Total. Hey, what would
live the truth?
Right. And look, happiness is not the height of virtue here.
Right.
Okay. And furthermore, people don't live their lives in a vacuum. If they're happy, what does that matter to you? As if the choices of one person don't affect others, and there's not a ripple effect here. We don't live life in a vacuum. The things we do have huge impacts on other people, and that's just completely it's just this postmodern spirit of the age that all truth is valid truth, and as long as you're happy and nobody's being harmed, but nobody's really examining this at like a micro level. Like, how does the suicide of a transgender affect the everybody that they know, their parents, their siblings, who other transgenders who are no doubt in their life? I mean, life is not lived in a vacuum, people. So to say like your individual happiness is the highest possible virtue is just silly.
What about that lady just said that it's not affecting you at all, so you shouldn't care. I mean, that is such faulty logic. You could just say, oh yeah, they're committing suicide.
Well, look, even here's there's a lot of things that are happening. Look, my neighbor getting raped by her father, that doesn't affect me. Why do I care as long as that man's happy? Leave him alone. You know what I mean? Like that's how arrogant and stupid. Right, exactly. Yeah. Horrible logic. This is what happens to people who are taught what to think instead of how to think.
But this woman here loves the Lord. She's got some bad teaching as well. So,
oh yes. Her theology is not reformed or presuppositional.
And she hasn't listened to J.D. Hall's holiness dressing for church and public and stuff like that.
Yeah, she could use that message.
And with my beliefs, when you have any issue that you're struggling with, you go to the Lord and you ask him for help, and he lays out the guidance for you. And so when you take that into your own hands, that's just not something.
Hold on. Those are useless Christian euphemisms and platitudes that really accomplish nothing. Just take it to the Lord.
Give her a break.
But this is again
Pentecostal. Leave her alone.
These are the kind of things that this is the reason why ministries like Dr. James White's and Dr. Brown's are so important, because she is incapable of getting to the heart of the matter when it comes to transgenderism. But
situation, but by all means, you're not me.
Last comment. Can I address the issue of happiness for a moment, please? See, from the Christian worldview, happiness is not the first thing we pursue. I can guarantee you nobody in those landing crafts on D-Day were happy. That's right. They were doing what was right and necessary.
Well,
that is a, well, that
careful.
Well, unless you want to be speaking German today, what they were doing was pretty important.
Right, because the Germans felt the same way. You know what I'm saying? So duty.
Right, I mean, the Nazis felt guided by God as well.
Yeah. The point is the character, integrity.
Yes. I will agree with you 1,000%, and I actually I love the topic, and I generally feel we all need to get together in this country. So I'm going to end this by agreeing with James on this point. It's not about happiness. Happiness is not what makes a good life. Living a good and just life, living a certain kind of life, and you all need to decide what that is. A certain kind of life, a good life. We've lost track of that. We talk about leading the good life, which people mean is money and wealth. Nonsense. It's a good life. The guys that landed on D-Day were living a good life, I say. Next up, some people are taking...
Okay, and this ends the part that James White is on. And I haven't watched any more of it, but as Dr. Drew is saying, he agrees with James White that you need to live a good and just life. He agrees. And the huge difference is, and you know what? The atheists and the non-believers that are watching this, that you and I have engaged with on YouTube, they would agree. Good and just. But what's the standard for good and just?
Right, exactly. Now, and there's another point here too. Dr. Drew is an addiction medicine specialist. He deals with people who are trying to live a good life. I mean, think of this. Think of what we were talking about, at our last critique area here, where, people are talking about, as long as they're happy, who cares? Well, if that's true, then who is Dr. Drew to interfere with the happiness of a crackhead? Who's, to interfere with it? You know what I mean? Like, again, it comes down to...
Which is why he says that, though.
Right, and I think he realizes maybe he kind of caught his own little inconsistency at that point somehow, and wanted to, end at a point of agreement or whatever, which is fine. That's, I guess, virtuous to some degree, whatever. But I think that, the world has no answers to this issue, and I don't know. I think that's part of the reason why they're embracing it, because Dr. Drew, pop psychology, none of that stuff has any answer for this. And we talked about this on our podcast too, how, you know, the attitude that the world and Dr. Drew and pop psychology takes toward transgenderism is not love. It's not.
Right.
And if you want to hear more about that, you can go and listen to the podcast. It's got Caitlyn Jenner's, Bruce Jenner's, you know, icon as the picture. You can go to BibleThumpingWingnut.com, go look in the archives and listen to that. It was a good discussion. I think that Dr. White is to be commended, and I think that he will be invited as a result of this. I hope that we see him invited into more of these conversations in the culture and the media. And it can be very instructive to us. It's so refreshing. We talk about Reformed resurgence as Christians and Calvinists, like, oh, there seems to be this resurgence in Reformed doctrine. Well, here we see the fruit of it. We see the fruit of Reformed doctrine. We see the value of Reformed doctrine, having a strong understanding of a biblical anthropology, living to the glory of God, personal holiness, accountability, or the responsibility we have for our own sin. All of these things were brought to bear, the gospel at the center of it all. James was, by and large, not expressing his opinion on the matter. He was bringing the weight and the power of the word. And that's, as Reformed people and many non-Reformed inconsistent Arminians would also affirm, the power and the strength of God's word to bear on these topics. So I'm really thankful for this opportunity to talk about this and to hear Dr. James White and to extract a little bit of wisdom, you know, even if by osmosis, sitting close enough to the computer. So this was good. I'm glad we did this.
It was excellent. It was excellent. I really thank the Lord for Dr. James White, and we'll see where it goes from here.
Yeah, it'll be really interesting going forward. You know, it's not like Dr. White needs more to do, right? He's traveling all over the world debating Muslims and mosques and everything. But this is, I think, this is what the Lord has clearly called him to do, and I believe that Dr. White is just living in obedience to his calling, and praise the Lord. He's a gift to the church. So Dr. White, if by some chance of fate you happen to watch this video, we thank you for the blessing that you've been to us.
So that was the first half of the Dr. Drew show. According to what he said today on his show, that is James White, he's removed from his seat. Somebody else takes his seat, and James White isn't a part of the second half of the show. And he suggested that really no need to watch it. So we're not going to review it. So I'm going to watch it tomorrow, I guess. But there's an after show video, normally a few minutes long, and I'm sure we'll stumble upon that somewhere, but I don't have it. So
I've been Googling
that after show.
Actually,
that after show is just a synopsis summary of what they talked about, some afterthoughts, and they included James White in that, which is kind of interesting. But James White traveled there. James White traveled there, and a lot of people said it wasn't going to be wise. And I thought I don't know, if I had to say ahead of time, I would have thought it was going to be a waste of time. But it was really good that he was there. I mean, he got to say a ton more than if he was on Skype. You notice the transgender person who was on Skype, you barely got to say 2 sentences.
Yeah.
And that was James White last week. So
right, exactly. And you know, gosh, I wanted to make a point off of something that you just said, and I just kind of lost it. But
him going there, travel.
Oh yeah. Whether it's a waste of time or not. No, that's the thing is you kind of expect the worst, I think, in these situations where you're going in to be entrapped and confronted and you not having a chance to respond. I think Dr. White did a really good job early on of deflecting the straw men, of deflecting the red herrings, and staying at the heart of the matter and holding them accountable. Like, this is what we're here to talk about. We're not here to talk about, these anomalies that Dr. Drew tried to bring up, or the goofy thing that the comedian co-host said. He just kept it right on point. And I think that helped to steer the conversation and keep it focused, because someone with less skill than Dr. Drew might have, or than Dr. White may have followed those red herrings and taken the conversation in a meaningless direction. So Dr. White did a great job of keeping things sharp, on point, and concise, Christ-centered. It was awesome.
Amen. So that's it. We got nothing else to say. Thanks everybody for watching. You all know where to find us. Find Dr. James White at aomin.org. And that's all I got. You got anything else, Lynn?
That's it. I think we're done here.
Thanks for watching.